will not enter.
Hey guys, Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Decision might be reconsidered.
The president has no intention of sending Go ahead. Well,
I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, it needs new custodians, man. You know what I'm saying? The old ones, their greed has overrun, and that's their issue. And there's nothing wrong with greed as long as you keep it in check. But there's a certain level of connectivity that you're supposed to have to the harmony of this world, and if that shit ain't maintained, you know, when is the world going to call for it?
Well, before we go on anything, I just want to land my whole point that I wanted to share with you, Rogish, on this.
Please do. Please do.
So here's the uniqueness of, 1776, slaves are here, quote unquote, freed in 1865, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. My ancestors came in here around 1900. What came in? 1913, Federal Reserve is established.
Right.
We go to World War I. Then we go into World War II. Everybody came back after World War II. The automobile industry, mushroom cloud, flourished to the highest degree we could have possibly imagined as we become the richest empire in the history of man, as far as we know.
After more than 2 years of patiently waiting, the Federal Reserve has just officially announced the first rate increase since 2018, making it the beginning of a brand new market cycle that's about to change everything. At the core, this is going to have a ripple effect throughout home prices, stock market values, savings accounts, credit cards, auto loans, personal loans, student loans, and ultimately, in one way or another, you will be directly impacted by these changes, some for good and some for bad. So without dragging this out any longer than it needs to be, let's talk about what just happened.
A fairly substantial point of leverage, okay? And then, so now, because of what happened in March of 2020, they took it off the petrodollar. So that there's nothing pegging our currency to anything right now, man. It's been a fantasy for 2 years. And for the life of me, there's not been one viable explanation other than the thing I'm sure you heard of before, and you're going to roll your eyes, but the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum.
We have an incredible
because they want to.
It's definitely happening.
To create
I mean, it's not a conspiracy. It's happening. Right in front of us.
As the true engine of our economy.
When you start to look at the world in that lens,
the current
all these things that seem irrational make a lot more sense now, right?
Our lives.
So now we're at this point in history.
But it has also presented us with an extraordinary
opportunity. You could have a consortium, a chance to reset, a conference of all of the most powerful luminaries. You could say, we want a percentage of what the new energy paradigm is going to look like, because that's our biggest problem right now. Because a lot of scientists theorized 2015 peak oil was hit, meaning the maximum amount of production on the planet that can sustain our lifestyles globally. After that, it's a precipitous drop-off. In Saudi Arabia, Europe, and the reason why we were able to do fracking and oil sands is because when we went into Iraq, we jacked the prices up, and so it made it viable for us to be able to produce it here on the North American continent, which we never could have done before. Well, now that's gone. Okay?
So how long do you think the decay period is for it?
We're in free fall right now. I don't know how. You don't even know. And no one even knows. It's literally clown world.
We need nothing short.
It's free fall. It's already free fall.
So, I agree with a lot of what you said. We talked about Reagan, and you talked about outsourcing the jobs. Talked about taking us off the gold standard. You talked about all of these steps that have led up to this moment. But what you're forgetting is the fact that we let this happen with our fucking rah-rah sis boom bah team, Republican Democrat team shit.
All of us.
And then we decided that we were going to literally pick these lying, murderous scumbags who literally their own families don't like. Hunter Biden, he went to Ukraine to get away from Joe. These guys are so narcissistic. But we literally, we let them get into office and we let them rob us. And they robbed us 5 times last year. 48 hours it took them to bail out the Wall Street, the banks, the military industrial complex. They gave us $600 and $1,200.
Thank you, Jen. Good to see all of you again, but this is a briefing I never wanted to give. I'd like to start by saying the prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine today as they suffer an unjustified, unprovoked, and premeditated attack by the Russian military forces.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Tommy Nation Politics.
Okay, guys, can y'all hear me? Check it, check it. Is everybody here? Is everybody ready?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How's it going, guys? So I usually do a monologue, but there's a lot to talk about today. Dub, he actually inspired me from stereo. We have Jamar Jabari from Voice of Change podcast. We have Stephanie Smith, my lovely co-host. We're gonna be talking today, guys, about the Great Reset. The Great Reset is a Davos-funded and mission-driven. I guess you could call them a think tank or an exclusive club, where I guess the billionaires who have polluted our oceans and our waters. This is my stance on this, but we can get our opinions from the table on what exactly is happening and all that. But these billionaires have. Let's just be real, guys. They've polluted our oceans. They've bought our politicians in every country. We're starting to actually have literally problems with the fact that they're sanctioning. They made our politicians sanction countries. Now Russia is going to default on their debt, perhaps. This is all just a mess, guys. And now we want them to do a great reset. Dub, you had a lot to say about it before, so why don't you go first? So you've got a lot of knowledge when it comes to this. Our money. Let's just say first of all, they're asking for now an Innovation Act, which is trillions. The Democrats, and they spent trillions. Who knows where it went? The COVID relief bill. So what's happening next? What do you think? What's gonna happen next?
I think he's on mute.
Oh, are you? I didn't put him on mute. Dub, can you hear me? Come in, Dub.
He's talking.
He is talking. I can hear him. I can see his avatar move, but I can't hear him. Uh-oh, guys. I don't know what to do. Let's see. Live stuff. Dub, can you hear me? Why is this happening? Okay, I muted him and then unmuted him. Well, Dub, try to come back on the stream. I'll let you back on. But right now we're having some interesting issues with, first of all, money. This is all very interesting. The global financial systems, guys. The global financial systems are going awry. We've got Saudi Arabia. We might cut ties with Saudi Arabia because of the with the bank that they want to use. Can you hear me, Dub? Dub? Hello? Why is this happening?
It's just one of those days.
I know, it is. That's why I'm not even stressing it. What should I do? You got a good connection, but I can't hear you. Stephanie, I can't even hear you. Try to say something, Stephanie. Sorry, guys. We're going to have to work out these technical difficulties. Because I want everybody to have a voice at this table. Planned it that way. Come in. Earth. Hello? What the hell, bro? I'm going to try to refresh this. Let's see what happens.
Jamar, you're still working, right? Did I lose you too?
I believe I am. I'm still working.
How is it? We're the only ones still working.
You can hear me?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Stephanie, I
I
can't
don't
hear her.
know.
Crazy. Y'all must be cursed. I don't know what to do. Dub's trying to talk. I can hear. I see his avatar move. It's moving. Jamar, you're a podcaster. What would you do in this situation, bro? What would you do in this situation?
I would probably try to get them to reset all their wires, whatever they got going on, and then try to log back in and go on to another question till they come back, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
There we go.
Wait. Okay, there we go.
God, Jesus fucking bitch.
All right.
Holy smokes. Mary Jesus, marijuana.
When you're faced with adversity, conquer it.
Like literally, I felt at that moment, I felt almost like the soldiers in
Davos.
World War II. I felt like the soldiers in World War II right there.
We're
Literally
being
did.
infiltrated.
Honestly, you don't, Dub, let me tell you.
I know. I don't have to play into your paranoia.
I know, really. Let me tell you. Right. Okay. So I did ask you a question already. Did you hear my question? Did you hear my question?
I did hear the question.
Just so by editing, because I'm probably gonna re-edit this. So I'm gonna ask you again. So we have the billionaires in Davos, guys. They want to reset everything after they polluted our oceans, destroyed our waters, destroyed our air, then robbed us with by buying our politicians. So now they want to do a great reset. Meanwhile, they've taken us off of the gold standard, and if you want to go from there, Dub, go ahead.
Well, I guess the best way to say is they want to reframe the whole way that we perceive capitalism, and they're going to do it in. Are you there?
Hey, yeah. Good job, Stephanie. Very good.
They're going to do something called the Stakeholder Theory. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's a form of capitalism, but think of it as like conscious capitalism is how they're going to frame it, because it's all basically a corporation gives the CEO a contractual mandate to pay attention to environmental concerns, and it's going to be for our better interests, obviously, is the way it's going to be framed. But it's important because it keeps the shareholders from suing or firing, for contractual breach. So it's like a form of capitalism without the accountability, ultimately.
Okay, so what do you mean the contractual breach? Because this is an interesting thing. I don't know if you heard about this whole Russia defaulting on their debt, but these American investors are worried about after sanctioning them, putting them in complete isolation from the globe. Now all of a sudden they're worried about them defaulting on their debt, and that would be a horrible thing.
Well, I mean, not to sound too fringe, but it's basically a small group of interests will enjoy the spoils, and they're not beholden to anybody. So even as it stands right now, if you got the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, in theory, it's kind of like when you take a loan out, there's a fiduciary responsibility between the lender and the lendee, right? So there's some culpability in there, and that's why when you default on the loan, there's someone to look at, say, hey, pay up.
Right.
Basically, this is just a way to seize final control, and I know that this kind of plays into our worst fears, but it'll be presented in a way that is supposed to be beneficial because it's an existential crisis we find ourselves in as a civilization, and therefore we need to come up with a new plan. And obviously, as things have been going right now, there's nothing pegging the reserve currency right now, which up till March 2020 was the US dollar as it relates to petroleum. But because we've taken ourselves off of that, now it's really only on perception, which, how far can we run with that? It's anybody's guess, and really nobody can answer that. So it's it might sound a little convoluted, but basically just seizing control from the central banking system and going to just a tighter grip, But the stakeholder theory is something to really pay attention to, because you got to ask yourself who funds the Federal Reserve, right? Those kinds of interests.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so, there's no accountability at that point.
Okay, so there's no accountability, and yet the Fed chair has hiked up the rates,
right?
In which we're
and you know why they're doing that right now.
I have no idea. Why are they doing that?
They're gambling because listen, the minimum wage is going to go up, and when that happens, that could crash the stock market. And so they're trying.
You think so?
Yeah, and I think they're trying to game it right now because it feels like there's bad faith actors in the market, like an algorithmic influence of some sort, and because we really can't clearly see what's occurring now in ways that we never could before. And I hate to be vague, but I think a lot of people are all standing, you're left to speculate at a certain point. You can only go so far as putting all the pieces together. And I think if anybody says they know that, well,
some things have been happening this whole time, and guys, you can feel free to chime in, okay? But I see, this economy stuff has really been boring for me, but until lately, when all of a sudden everything has started becoming convoluted, and it's kind of irked my paranoia. So we have the Fed chair raising rates. We have Saudi Arabia trying to get out of a World Bank, make their own $82 billion World Bank. We have Russia defaulting on their debt. And then we still have inflation up the ass here. And so all of these things are connected. And I really want to know how. Also, I want to know.
I'll tell you how connected to all of it is blockchain.
Blockchain. So this is this is a cryptocurrency, right?
Yep.
So what is a blockchain for the audience?
So blockchain is what Bitcoin operates from, or Ethereum, and it's a decentralized way. It's a ledger ultimately. And so, boy, try discussing Bitcoin with people and not their eyes roll back in their head. It's like the guys at the gym that lift. They're just like, yeah, Bitcoin. Like that's what I imagine. Sometimes. Imagine this. So I say that this token of this unit is of X amount of value, and at that precise time that I say it, you have 20 computers around that all record that. And when it does, it's immutable. You can't change that. And so that gives it a value in that space and time. It takes it out of the way that we've always thought about things in a linear way. But the bigger picture is there's no intermediary. And that's what the central banking system has always played upon. And that's usury. And they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, and they can't. And I think they don't want the general populace to know that. And it's got them really concerned because you're talking about legacy blue blood banking families that have been around for hundreds of years and have been basically financing every kind of endeavor that we know of, every war, every skirmish, every interest. And I think what they're trying to do is seize control of that so that they don't lose, control of the power.
How does the rates hike come into it? They're just gonna deplete the dollar until it's nothing, or what? Is that what's gonna happen?
I think it's gonna be the optics of it'll be like nothing has changed, but I think behind closed doors, there's going to be different agreements put on. I just think it's going to become more layered and obfuscated. It won't be transparent, but it'll be presented in a way that, oh well, here's your new, you scan your QR code. And the thing that people have been really afraid of during COVID and through this is, and they have reason to be, is that it's going to go on to a social credit rating like China does.
That's what I've been afraid of.
And so basically all of your financials, all of your health records, all of your legal is subject to scrutiny of some, nebulous force, meaning they're going to be monitoring your intake. Oh, you know what, Tommy, it looks like you used too much carbon this month. We're going to have to penalize you on that. Oh, you've your diet was this, and we've determined that you're going to be, your rates on your insurance are going to go up temporarily, or you're not going to be able to, you see what I'm saying? Like,
right. And then who's gonna be the ultimate judge? Is it gonna be the people? Is it gonna be the people, or is it gonna be the social credit score? See, this is why the social credit score is bad, guys. For those of you out there, and the thing is because the democratic process is lost. When Lindsey Graham goes on to the television and asks for the murder of Putin, that is without a trial. In the democratic process, we have trials, we have due process, and that's not happening anymore, guys. That's what's alarming me. Okay, guys, that's what's
I
alarming
think if we could just this can basically explain what I'm reading right here. Late stage capitalism is a popular phrase that targets the inequalities of modern day capitalism. It describes the hypocrisy and the assertiveness of capitalism that digs its own grave. It spotlights the immoralities of corporations using social issues to advance their brand. Basically, that's what's going down.
Advance their
We
brand.
are in that
What
process
is their brand?
I
guess the reset. Is
social issues to advance their brand. Social issues.
Well, ultimately, the brand is, consolidation of resources. And that's why you see these seemingly illogical moves being made. I mean, we can speculate on what things are being done, but I think it's pretty clear. There's alliances being forged. There's a lot of compelling evidence that Russia and China are the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And they have a shared understanding of what they would like to achieve as far as in this final stage of what it's going to look like as far as economies. They want to have a seat at the table. And so if you start looking at in that way,
I just want to play this clip because it plays right into this. This is what Joe Biden said 2 days ago, guys, just so you know.
I think, my mother had an expression, out of everything terrible, something good will come if you look hard enough for it. I think this presents us with some significant opportunities to make some real changes. We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway, I'm going to hush up, Mary, fire away.
Oh, so
sometimes I feel like
are we?
I feel like Joe.
Or is it?
Go ahead, Dub. Go ahead.
I said, if that wasn't proof enough that we're in a simulation, there you go.
It is their fault. It is the American government's fault that China and Russia are now becoming buddies. It's the American government's fault. They push both of them to become boys. Russia's capitalist. China is a communist country. Well, they're socialists, but they haven't made it there yet. And you take these two ideologies that's too different right now, the Russian Federation and China, and you make them have to become boys and put their ideals together just to survive what America's doing. This is America's fault. His new world order, he's probably talking about them. And that's your fault with your policies, everything that you have done with expanding NATO, everything.
Also, the fact that the Democrats are unbearable and they fucking make draconian laws, and then the Republicans jump on those laws and take them to the 10th power. Like,
and literally. Ultimately, because don't think that there isn't deals going on behind closed doors. I mean, Biden was over in China last Friday. 2 days before that, Saudi Arabia throws out a thing. Oh, we're going to put the Chinese yuan as the reserve currency. That's just some saber rattle.
Big deal.
Yeah, big deal. Because if that happens,
stepping up
collapses. And so that's not going to happen. But just the threat of that can keep people shaking in their boots. And people forget when Kim was doing his missile launches here not too long ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, Russia and China were doing many military drills together.
Right.
So check it. I mean, they were flying all around together, and that's never happened before. So this isn't like this hasn't been building up to this for a while. This isn't like they thought of this last week, And if you want to go deeper with that, you can start to think why things have happened in the past couple of years, but we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, what's different now too, also is there's so many different things, but the president went to the NATO thing. Was it a summit or what? Or not, Jabbar? Do you know? But he went to he went to there instead of Ukraine because he's a coward and he didn't want to get be in fire, even though Trump was Bonesburs. And the rest of the world pretty much told us to sit down and shut the fuck up and be cool, bro.
Yeah.
Like they don't literally they did. That's the first time that NATO's done that before. Or any country, they feel like they can stand up to us. And finally, the Republicans they're laughing at us, apology tour kind of thing. It starts to look actually kind of real, which scares me because they're gonna pain in the midterms.
Yeah.
Pain in the midterms, bro.
Yeah.
This is all. Go ahead.
And I have to say that the like even with Ukraine itself, the civil war is still not over in there. So whatever they're saying with bombings and stuff like that, yes, it's Russia, and it's also the Kyiv bombing Donbass, Kyiv bombing Lugansk and Donetsk. They have a very complicated issue over there. So of course NATO should be telling us to shut the fuck up and sit down, unless we have a better peaceful solution.
We don't.
Zelensky
We have
just said
CIA. We have the
today he's ready
CIA,
to negotiate.
and they're not peaceful. They're not peaceful at all. So
Yeah.
our
He just said
CIA
today.
talking points and our propaganda have fallen the fuck apart so fast. It's been amazing to watch. From Zelensky's a king who fights for his own people to now the rest of the world telling us to shut the fuck up and be cool. It's kind of just been like a very surreal 2 weeks of this. I think it's been 2 weeks. Like literally the turnaround.
Well,
Even in our country.
Look what's being
He's ready
signaled
to
right now.
negotiate.
The Fed, along with all the other global powers you just mentioned, want to bring down the U.S. financial market, and that's a really dicey proposition because we have such a symbiotic relationship with China that it isn't, it isn't framed in the way that the Cold War was. I mean, we're so intertwined, because of our consumption habits and also our intellectual property.
Yes, I agree. I think that the issue is, I think what more and more, this is me just coming off it because I'm a socialist. What more and more is important is to educate the working class on this, and so the working class to mobilize and build power on this. This is why we have platforms like this, so they can know these things.
Right.
Stephanie, are you there?
Only we can change it. This is literally
here.
This is one of those times.
Stephanie, yeah. Okay, so I don't know if you had technical difficulties. We've been having them all day, but have you been listening?
I am having technical difficulties, definitely.
Yeah, it's that kind of day, bro. It literally is this. It could be them. This is also the thing is they take.
I need to
Go
say
ahead,
something
Stephanie.
before
Yes,
we
please.
all continue. I'm sorry,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have to say this. No
Go ahead.
offense to anyone, but if the petrodollar was real, if money had been pegged to oil, then the price of oil would be constant. First of all, petrodollar basically is no more than oil traded in dollars. We still have petrodollars and teddy bear dollars. It's
Teddy bear dollars.
The economics are wrong. Petrodollar is a basis of trade. It's not actually. It's not backing the currency. Oil is not back our currency.
No, but
Nothing does.
Nothing does. That's what they
Resources, certain resources do. Resources back.
Right.
Our money.
I agree, but that's the way that they frame
not
it.
oil.
Well, they
Nothing
took us
has
off the gold
changed.
standard. So what really backs the currency, though? What really backs the currency? Because the gold doesn't. And Fort Knox, it's
Resources,
useless.
but not oil.
What do you mean
So
resources?
Other
Yeah, what do you mean by resources?
Humans. Humans are a very good resource.
No, that's not how it works. No, it's just not. I mean, it's been like since the 70s. It's always been. That is what they
Actually, since the 1933. But
You got to find something to replace that oil. That's why they have all
1933
these
then
green.
1971 is when we
Reagan?
got off the gold standard twice. And
Who did that? Who did that? Do you all know?
FDR
Give us
did
all the
it in
difference.
33.
That's
And
what I
then
thought.
Nixon did it in 71.
Yeah, well, they took us
Yeah.
into, but that's the pretext for all of this. That's how they're going to absolve us of our debt. But
So this is a pretext from 1933.
no, I'm just saying where we're at now. From March of 2020 to now.
I will say this: it seems to be good to be in debt when you're a huge country. It seems
I mean,
because
we
if you
owe
pay every month, you
China
pay
how much?
billions and billions. They were talking
How
about
much we
Russia's
owe
debt.
China?
Russia's debt is $20 billion, guys. $20 billion is Russia's debt. Our debt are trillions of dollars, and they literally doubled the deficit in 1 year alone last year. I think it's
Well,
funny.
that shows you how important our deficit really is.
To these
mean,
two parties,
don't-
nothing is. Nothing's too important.
They don't
except
care
for their-
about the deficit because
No, they don't.
it's not a issue. I mean, it's
They're going to
they
get
only care
working
about being
people
elected.
so pissed that you think January 6th was a thing. Watch until they get mobilized, and then there's a huger thing than January 6th. More mobilized with demands and actually organization skills and stuff like that. Because that is the kind of thing that, like, it's like what Tupac said. The poor is going to swallow the rich, and this is how they're going to see it once they get fucked over too much by this. I'm not seeing
I don't know about
Americans
that, Jamar.
dealing with this for so long. I
You
mean,
don't?
there has to be a tipping point. Like, I know we've been on our graces each generation. There has to be
I
a
could see
tipping
they're literally like they let these guys come on television and call for murders of people. You don't see Americans like literally just blowing this off.
Those trillions of dollars you're speaking of in emergency spending is the continuation of, the Fed's had the zero interest rate for how long now? And those billions of dollars in bond purchases, that's the leverage point that China has against us, because they've been the chief holder of our treasury bills for quite some time now.
I want to stab myself in the head.
I mean, we sanction a third of the world. A third of the world is sanctioned, so they should already saw this is coming by sanctioning people just for no reason and just going crazy
It wasn't
with the
for
sanctions.
no reason. It's because they're not capitalists. That's why they sanctioned Venezuela.
Yeah, basically. Well,
it turns out, guys,
it's a capitalist country, though. It's just ran by a socialist party. It's still capitalist because they have the oil people there that are billions of dollars in, stuff like that, and they have a huge opposition party that also is part of the National Assembly. They have that's why Guaido was able to do bullshit for like a good 5 years.
Why do you? Maduro is still president, bro, and now it looks like they've got Maduro. They were trying to install Guaido for the longest time, and they gave up on that. They were just like, "This guy's not popular."
He got to feed his people. He has to feed his people.
And so Maduro. What is y'all's take on that? He literally sounds like a different person, Maduro. It's weird. It's neoliberalism, like so hard. See us, investors, American investors. We have tourism. We have travel. We have hotels. Come see the people of Venezuela.
The CIA has tried to kill him. I think about 5 times from the last time I checked. The last thing they did was they tried to drone him. They tried to drone him last time at a speech. So this is literally like, I'm scared for. I hope he got good security, because the reason why they wasn't able to overthrow him, no matter what the Western media will say, he had the military on lock. It wasn't like a situation of Bolivia where the CIA was literally inside the military, and oil investors had their claws in the military, and they were able to get the military to overthrow Bolivia and put in the interim government. Maduro has a loyal government, and Maduro has a loyal military. Maduro is also prepared at this point to defend his country if it gets to that way. So I think the United States has no choice but to acknowledge that now, especially now they're in the oil crisis.
I mean, they have acknowledged it. They've acknowledged it big time. They said that the sanctions are going to be lifted if they directly ship oil from Venezuela to the United States. No more sanctions. That was easy.
Right. No more sanctions. Yeah. Well, I don't know when that's going to happen.
It's almost like our sanctions
that takes time, right?
But we got to go back to the point that I don't know where the misdirect of the oil. I mean, it's all about that. It's all fossil.
It's all about
That's all it is. And
I wish Stephanie was back on here, because I really wanted to ask that question.
It's
been all about oil so far, like since Iraq, and now all of a sudden it's not.
It has
like
nothing.
The liberal mind seems to have changed on
that much. And the thing is, the thing that we didn't anticipate, when you look back at the growth of China over the last 30, 40 years, it's just been so exponential that it's taken on a whole new dimension. And that I think that took more of the world's resources than we anticipated. And because of that, they've risen to be maybe arguably going to become the superpower, and that's what we're
Who's
trying
going
to
to be the superpower?
I mean, China is vying for that. And the global, because they're the only ones that aren't into this plan.
They're second highest. They're the second highest economy right now. They're growing and growing. They could pass us probably what do you think, Dub, in like 5 years, maybe less, maybe longer game?
And I've come to understand that that's kind of what Putin is probably trying to do. He's probably running cover for them so that he can secure his interests with whatever their reserves are. And it's just probably a deal that those two have going on. And I think China is going to try and do everything it can to go for having the yuan be the reserve currency. As far as what's going to be traded on the remaining of carbon until the next energy source comes along. Because, I mean, unless you've heard something I have, and I don't know what that thing is going to be.
Well, the yuan has always been small, and now all of a sudden, if this goes down with Saudi Arabia, that's going to change a lot of things. And Saudi Arabia is honestly, I feel like they're being petty because of us doing a nuke deal again with Iran, like talking to Iran and shit like this. But like, why the hell do we have
they
this
killed
such
people in Yemen with our weapons? They've always been horrible allies.
I was just about to bring that up.
Horrible allies.
We could be friends with Saudi Arabia.
We should have
and let them
literally
kill their
dropped these
people like
guys
this.
a long time ago. Their princes have immunity to rape and murder in our country.
Right.
So these guys are.
It's real too. It's real too. Like, we're literally like allies with all these regimes, and when they want to go after somebody like Assad, stuff like this, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if you're telling me the whole truth. I don't know, guys.
They're not. They're not.
Because they've had the boogeyman of like peak oil being hit, and no one can really say. A lot of people feel that it has been hit, but that's what they play off of, the scarcity idea, to be able to manipulate the markets.
And that's why I think economics is bullshit. Right there, Deb.
Right.
That's why I think it is.
Right.
Right there.
And they shouldn't blame Russia for oil at all, because it doesn't affect us. It probably affects the Europeans a lot because they need a third of that or something. I think it was 3/4. I got to go back to reading what I read about that. But we only got less than 2% from them. So it's definitely price gouging. It's definitely these corporations asking for more because of inflation and all this shit. It's everything. It's late stage capitalism.
Right. And so if you take that a step further, I think they want to reshape the way the world is. You've heard a lot of rumors for many years about the Amero, which would be the consolidation of Canada, North America, and Mexico, right? But basically getting the world into more regional aspects, and maybe the disillusion of the way we used to think about it, as far as nation states go. And it's because we have an existential threat of climate crisis and so on and so forth with, yes. Is that true? To whatever degree, sure. But you better believe they're going to conflate that.
Right.
They have. In fact, they talk about green energy when they're actually polluted. These billionaires, they talk about green energy when their companies polluted the planet. Now they're talking about green energy. It's hilarious.
Right.
It's so ironic, guys. But now
oil leaks have not been solved yet.
They've changed the planet. Right now in this Ukraine and Russia thing, they've got biolabs, and I was talking to you about this, Jamar, earlier. I don't know if you know, Dub, but Tulsi Gabbard, she was a politician. She just speaks the truth. There are biolabs. Apparently, the mainstream media is saying there are no biolabs, even though our government said that there were.
Right.
Still, the media says there's none, supposedly. Right. And now she's a traitor, treasonous lies. But the fact remains that these two parties are in their midterm shit so hard that they could actually let this happen, where those pathogens are secured, and they could really reshape pandemics for years. Is that in the plan?
Well, I mean, that's what you think the last 2 years was about.
Was that a dry run? Because it could have been. I knew it was.
I mean, I've got to take it, but
the whole thing was what could they make us do? What else could they make us do?
Pretty quick, I have my feelings about that, and I've done some deep reading on that. There was a letter put out called the Spartacus letter by 200 doctors in Europe that they have their own take, and with 35 pages of sourced references. But I think you're onto something there. I
mean, is YouTube going to ban this video because I talked about biolabs and then 6 months later they're going to say sorry? It turns out Hunter Biden's laptop was real. It turns out all of these things that we banned you for is like literally happening because we're liars.
Huh? I'll be
We're
darned.
literally always doing that shit.
How you going to say that and then they'll be like Hunter's Biden laptop is real?
Yeah,
You
literally.
just want to egg them on,
I
make
knew a
them
year ago,
even
guys.
demonetize you
guys are
worse.
liars. Welcome to what I knew a year ago, guys. So I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about like literally the rest of the world. Turns out the New York Times says, yeah. Like so, like long story short, guys.
Well, I think it's a perfect storm is happening. It's the convergence of the depletion of the resources. If you look at that, that's always follow the money, obviously. So the people want to divvy up whatever the oil that is left, and then the blockchain is no small factor because they don't know how to control that. Because here's the other thing, we think about this shadowy cabal that's like perfect and evil or something. Well, they're human. They make mistakes. They're flawed. And
they're not really humans like us, though. We had to worry about bills and stuff.
I know where you're going there. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought I'm telling you. Oh, never mind. But I mean, really, it is that cut and dry. It's just business as far as this small group is. And what are we talking about? It's a small percentage of interests that are involved in these conversations.
This is why I think it's so funny that Biden wants to call the Russians oligarchs out.
Right.
But don't want to call out
that was another
his
piece,
oligarchs out.
But
there are some 30 billionaires. Right now, Yahoo Finance just reported that we have a new trillionaire. That's already it's inevitable. It's going to be Tesla's Elon Musk, which we were talking about him on the stereo as well.
Right.
Like your man Elon is going to be the first trillionaire.
Sure. Well,
so
no.
SpaceX.
No, it was going to be
there's already well-established billionaires on this planet. You just don't know about them.
Oh yeah.
I do. Talk about them. We're gonna have more technical difficulties if we talk about those guys.
right.
But we know about y'all. I mean, look. At the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you right now, we gotta do something about our fellow liberal friends. We gotta coax them. We gotta talk to them. We gotta give them a shoulder rub whenever they start thinking like, okay, I should not be backing a country that straight up is ran by Nazis that are going.
Why are they doing that? Like literally, this whole thing was started with George W. Bush and the Iraq War, and the CIA went in and they lied. They talked to this guy named Cook. What was his name? It was a stupid ass name. It turns out the Russians didn't even believe him. Like we've all seen this movie before. Why are the liberals now all of a sudden believing the CIA? And then now, and literally, and we're still believing the CNN. Still,
everything about their world would collapse if you pulled on that thread just a little bit.
But we gotta do something, Dub. They call themselves left when they're really not.
Yeah, that's what makes me angry.
Push them left.
Just personally, they call themselves the left. That's what makes me angry. And so their president is the most racist, dementia-riddled old man who, like, literally is raising our taxes and let the Trump tax cuts expire that helped the middle class.
And you're not looking at Joe Biden control demolition. Ultimately,
I mean, I have.
Because
stop saying you're left.
It's too implausible to think of it in any other way. I mean, because it just feels like there's deals going on that we don't know about. And I'm not trying to be defeated or apathetic. I'm just saying that I think it's going to have to be a return to localism as far as what we can do, as far as what our agency is and what our life looks like.
I'll keep on my Marxist optimism and try. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely like it's gray. It's a gray area. They're winning. These oligarchs here are winning because while they're talking about Russia over there, they're being our voices.
They have sustainable development goals, and we're going to have to achieve those things. As far as inequality.
How can we do that on a local level?
Well, on the local level, you're going to have to inspire more interest in community sustainable agriculture.
Yes, that's good. That's a good idea.
Maybe there's local currencies that have been done.
One We'd be invaded. They'd invade our own country if we fucking try to do currency anything. You see how they fucking reacted to this cryptocurrency when it first came out, Deb? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
They were not having it, bro. It was Russian hack. It was Russian bots.
Well,
it was literal, not real money. You could be robbed. It's black. It's on the black. It was the dark web.
Yeah.
It was bad, bro. It was all of this. It was and the media was saying it. It wasn't it wasn't Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity. It was everybody.
And we're in an age when like artificial intelligence, robotics, the internet of all 5G, it's all converging, nanotech, biotech, all of it's coming together at once, you know? And I think you're seeing the controller paradigm dissolve in front of your eyes, but they're not going to go quietly into the night.
And we're all going to become basically one voice. That's the goal.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of people are not seeing that because they're thinking, oh, well, the left is not destroyed because we still have CNN. Well, CNN's saying the same shit that their state wants them to say. It's state news. CNN is state news, Fox News is state news. They're all together.
Yeah.
And the people that are not together are like voices like us.
When did
friends
CNN ever say the Iraq War was a mistake? Never.
No,
it's just like these guys have literally never apologized for any of the shit that they said they were wrong about. Not even Jussie Smollett, guys.
Right.
Well, I apologize for Jussie Smollett.
Jussie Smollett.
Jussie, when you get out of jail, don't even do anything again. Just go home, go to bed. Don't. You made a bad thing for gay people. Gay black.
We're moving into solutions and that we have equitable access. You know, because like you just said, it's our shared voices. But the more we devolve into identity politics, tribalism, nation states, all this divisiveness, divide and conquer. They're winning. And so it's like we find what is our common interest? Well, I want my family to be good. You want your family to be good. Okay, well, let's start there. Let's go fresh water. Go with food. Let's go with
a little bit more than that. I would like a human society with dignity and respect for each other, and not people like Lindsey Graham being able to be on television. Calling for murders of people. I would like people to actually think that that's a bad thing, that's a problem, and maybe you're a psycho, Lindsay. You know, like right? You know, I'm saying, like, why can't people do that? Like, it's okay if their leaders, if our leaders want to call for murders.
That
like,
would require a soul. So there's that part.
Yeah,
I think it's so funny.
What if you did that?
Call for murders like that, you know?
Yeah, they're leaders. They're fucking leaders, bro. They're leaders.
Yeah,
and no one questions them whenever they call for a murder. They're like, okay, but like look at for instance with Zelensky. You know, Zelensky, as we was talking about, he's the poster child. He's the liberals' true return king to bring Ukraine back into its formal glory.
He's a cutie.
I mean, which glory are we talking about? Are we talking about the glory when Bardano, the neo-Nazi that collaborated with Hitler in Ukraine that slaughtered 36,000 Jews that are Ukrainian, and which glory are we talking about? The glory where fascism takes over again in Ukraine and they ethnically kill the Russian Ukrainians. Which part? He literally banned 11 parties today. He banned 11 parties in opposition to his only party. Mind you, China only has one party, the Communist Party. So he's literally like, oh, the fascist party is the only party. So he pulled at China in a way. Like, China's not fascist, but what I'm saying is the fascist party is the only way.
Is there really a party called the fascist party? Is there really a party called the fascist party?
They're not called.
Okay, just making sure. No, this could literally be true.
No, they're not called the fascist party.
People wouldn't even care. They wouldn't even care. I promise you.
The last frontier.
It's fine for him to do that.
The thing we haven't touched on is the future of work. You know, because look at what happened
let's talk about
when
that.
there was lockdowns. You'd be rendered essential or non-essential, and with AI here, that means there's going to be large sectors of the economy that are null and void, and then they have to go on a universal basic income, which means they have to get money from the state, and therefore they're going to have to fulfill certain metrics, right? Which is a pretext for control. So it really comes down to liberty and tyranny. And I mean, I don't want to be so binary about it, but I mean, what would you call that, right?
Yeah,
and that's no small thing, That's resetting and reshaping the entire way that we've thought about our civilization up to this point.
And we literally accuse other countries for this, that we're doing it out of fear of our influence. And now our people that we fuck with do it, and we're not giving them shit about it at all.
Right.
At all.
Well,
you got Yeah.
Go ahead, Deb.
So when you look at the stakeholder economy, the way that they're going to present that is what are the fair outcomes for everyone? You know,
Fair
and so,
outcome. And again, who decides this? This is what I'm. Yeah.
Well,
Every time someone says, "What is a fair outcome?" What is it? Who decides what a fair outcome? Who decides that? Because usually it's the people. There's a jury of your peers. Like, who's going to do it now? The social scores. Who's going to do it now? This is the big movement that is guys. I just want to say this to my audience: it's undemocratic, and that is the tyrannical
here's
part.
what you're going to hear from here on out: ESG metrics, environmental, social, and governance.
What is that?
It's going to appeal to those sensibilities. It's going to appeal to the fact that, hey, these are perilous times, and we must make grand gestures and for all of our interests. It's not going to be presented as some like totalitarian boot on your neck. It's going to be, and you know what? A lot of people are going to be begging for it. They'll want it.
They will. Orwell said this. Orwell said this. He said, "Just imagine imagine the boot on the neck." This was his last warning. Imagine the boot on the neck and then people said, "Yeah, say yes, please. This is what we needed." Order.
It's more like boot licking.
He was a socialist. He was a socialist. He thought that he said it was going to come from a Western power, a fake left, and it has.
Who said that?
Orwell.
I forgot. I missed that
Orwell.
part. Orwell. Okay. Yeah.
They interviewed him when he was sick.
Yeah,
he said that.
Great guy. But what I don't understand is, so my mind is always thinking like the solution.
All right.
Yeah.
And we already said the solution, but it's like, what has to be done to get people to understand what could be the solution? Because everybody's going to bend the knee.
It's going to fracture into like little micro ecosystems, where maybe you're able to curate your crowd in a meaningful way. Like, so if you had your own distribution methods, like say you had a video service that was based off a blockchain, that means you have full control of your intellectual property. Or if you have alliances with some local, food growers and whatnot, I think that you're going to have to rethink about your personal life and then expand from there. But as far as like changing people's minds who don't even know anything about this, I don't know.
That's going to take a while. But
so we were talking about work though. We were talking about the future of work. So is that going to fit in? We're going to have to make alliances with our local. Otherwise, because our social score could say that we're not employable, right?
Right.
So
then the robot takes your job.
Who knows what they're going to say?
Episode, and we're going to be,
Then the robot takes your job.
Yeah, because I know I'm going to fuck up day one, bro. I'm going to fuck the social score up day one, bro.
I'll be right there with you.
Day one.
They're like, oh, we saw your podcast. You said this, and that.
My life. You drank too much beer last night, bro. You fucking, why are you having sex like that? Why are you doing that shit? Like, just day one, bro.
Not there.
All of it. But anyway, yeah, guys. So
it's not being overwhelmed. It's like making incremental steps, and I guess what I do is the best that I can do, And so I have a studio where I live. I do some work in some local food banks. I do little gestures here and there. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it's on the asset column. And that way I can sleep at night not feeling like a hypocrite, like I'm shaking my fist in the cloud and I'm not doing anything. But I'm also not like virtue signaling either. I'm just saying you just do what you can with what you have where you're at. And I think it's easy to get overwhelmed and get hysterical about all of these things. But I think you have to boil it down to what is the next actionable thing you can do in front of you. But realize that these things are going on, and it makes the things that feel implausible make a little bit more sense here. And you realize it's just the way these people do business. I'm saying there's legacy central banking.
Do what you
system.
can with what you can with what you have.
Where you're at.
Where you're at.
Because otherwise,
that's the message of the stream. That's
right. Right. Because ultimately, if none of this becomes actionable, then what are we contributing? But I think it's good to kind of get a good consensus idea of where we're at, and then we because maybe I'm naive, but I refuse to get bitter, cynical, jaded, and tune out. I do think that this is an
Why
age
not? Our
where
leaders are. Why can't you?
I
Leaders.
always looked at this age that it's either transformation or obliteration, because we've been there before too. And I think we can transform, but I think it's going to be messy, pure and simple.
Rome
It always
fell.
is.
No one
Yeah,
thought
be like
Rome
a
was going to fall.
metamorphosis.
Right.
So guys, we're at the top. We're at the top of the hour. So as you know, I have to do a last thoughts for you guys. Jamar, you want to go first on the last? Or go first. Jamar, you go first on the last thoughts. What do we got to do?
Thought,
what inspiration?
Get out in these streets, organize, get around people that you know that want to change and topple this oligarchy that we have here and bring it for working people, working class. Last thoughts.
Where can people find you, bro?
Jabari VOC podcast, and also check out a lot of great articles on with my the working class party I work for, the Party for Socialist Liberation. Check out great articles from them on PSL web.org. A lot of nuance and on what's the topics that we actually talked about here, and a lot of other discussions from foreign policy to read up on there too.
Fantastic.
Dub, last words.
I think it's really important that you get honest with yourself. And I think that if you explore who you are and what you're about and really come to a clear-eyed appraisal of what your values are, and then realize that we need to contribute something of value. What is our zone of genius? And that's a deeply personal thing. But I believe in equality of opportunity and outcome if we so choose. And now is the time to transcend the boundaries. The division is no longer useful to us and the hour is getting late. And if we don't move past that, then ask yourself, what kind of quality of life are you? But we are adaptable. We are adjustable. We've been through a lot in this run as a species, and I don't think our time is done. But it's time for us to rise to the occasion and actually call upon our better angels to be able to provide a better life for our families, for our children, for everyone around. And that starts in your house, on your block, in your county, in your state, and so on and so forth, because otherwise you'll feel overwhelmed. And so keep it simple. What is the thing that makes you valuable? And then be bold and contribute and give, because you can only keep what you have by giving it away.
Man, that was better speech than any speech Joe Biden has ever fucking done. Jesus Christ.
Definitely.
Equality of opportunity, really equality of opportunity, guys.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, but I'm thinking, Joe, you might have been too. This is Tommy Nation Politics. Be free thinking, innovative, totally open-minded. Catch us every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That was Jamar Jabari of the Voice to Change podcast. Find his podcast on Anchor. You can find Dub on Stereo app. He's got great conversations. Make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe him, Jamar, and of course Tommy Nation Politics. Going to www.tommynationpolitics. Click the bell, subscribe, notifications, and all that.